So let's talk about the economy. You've talked frequently about some desire to see it run hotter, or at least saying it's not running all that hot. This goes back over several months. I think you might be of a slightly different mind now over what's transpired over the last few months. What is just your basic sense of the strength of the U.S. economy?
So Neil, we've had an unusual recovery from what was obviously a very unusual recession, one driven by a financial crisis rather than by the normal pattern of inflation moving up and the Fed hitting the brakes. And during that period, as you know, we've never had the kind of what people call the Nike recovery, where there was a very steep upward trajectory. Instead, it's been steady, modestly above trend for some time. My perspective for a couple of years now had been that there was more room to run, there was more slack in the labor market, there was more utility in getting demand strengthened by having incomes up and more people having jobs, and we were not really close to our inflation target and hadn't been for some time. I would say over the last several months, 3 or 4 months, we've seen, or at least I've seen, some changes in that pattern which had prevailed for a long time. Actual inflation the core inflation has been up some, which was welcome and different from what we had seen previously. After a long period of relatively non-increasing growth of wages over the increases that they had had, at least one of the measures has shown some upward movement. And we've actually seen the actual labor force participation rate approach, and by some measures maybe even slightly exceed the expected trend of labor force participation. So all of that has suggested to me that we're in a somewhat different situation than at least I thought we were 6 or 8 or 10, 12 months ago, where I thought we had more opportunity to create more jobs, get more production in the country. And so now obviously I think the discussion of when is the appropriate moment for raising rates in order to prevent the economy from overheating too much is now, from my point of view, more on the table than it may have been before. Now, I still think there are some grounds for caution. We still have fewer tools to respond if a recession were to come from some external source than we do ability to control inflation. I think there is still some slack in the labor market, although obviously not as much as there was before. And so there are reasons to be cautious in moving forward. We obviously don't want to be pushing on the brakes harder than we need to in order to continue the trend of moderate growth. But I think it is a different discussion now.